of anything, we will let you know once we get to them. It looks like we got a very exciting agenda this morning, and it should be very close to time to 9 o'clock. And with that being said, if you don't mind, just pause there and I'll open it up with an invocation this morning. Oh, Father God, we just thank you for the opportunity to be here on this day. Thank you, Father, that we're into the month of May, and you've just been so good and so kind to us all the way from the beginning of the creation of this county up until now. And we just ask for your guidance and your direction, oh Lord, as we sit here and deliberate the business of your people. Father God, we realize there's a lot of things going on. Some of it's good and some of it's not quite as good, but we just thank you for allowing us to be here. We ask special blessings upon anybody who's asked us for special prayer, that you touch them right now and help them to be able to see the benefit of having you involved in their situation. We pray, oh Father, that once our business is done here, that you give us traveling grace and allow us to go our separate ways, find things in order where we may go. In Jesus' name we pray. Let us all say together, amen.
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 All right. With that being said, I hope my prayer was long enough to get us at 9 o'clock, or either a little bit beyond. With 1 minute. Well, I guess I can teach a lesson in 1 minute, or we can just go ahead and move on. And that'll be 1 minute I can give back to you on the end. The first item of business after opening prayer is approval of the 2022 board orders. What is the pleasure of the board as it relates to the board orders?
Look like a couple of observations. On number 6 on the first board meeting. Number 6, I think there should be Harris Road Bridge improvement.
Okay, Harris Road.
Harris Road Bridge instead of Harris Road.
Okay.
Harris Road Bridge.
All right. Seems reasonable.
On number 27, I don't know whether it really matters or not, but I was not the one to give that second. I don't know who seconded that motion. Number 27 came before the board, a motion by Member Trainer, second by Member.
I think I second that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, because I voted
second
against
that.
it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it all.
A number on the second board meeting on April the 18th. Are we approving the support for him? Are we approving the support of him submitting an application for funding? And he's submitted an application for funding, for federal funding.
Which one is that?
Number
Three.
That's number 3.
That came with that board.
And I don't know whether we need to specify there that we're not supporting necessarily what he's doing, but we're supporting that he submitted an application for federal funding.
I think you're correct and I've talked to him several times he's trying to move forward with it, but I think that that's a good.
Right.
I guess basically you're saying we don't want to allocate
we
support
ain't-
funds.
We're not-
towards this. Okay.
Supervisor Williams, the administrator, she may have some insight on that.
If that's the one I'm thinking, Supervisor Miller was questioning if we approved it or if we just acknowledged it. Is that the gentleman about the veterans?
Right.
Is
Right.
that one? Okay,
Right.
so I contacted, Ms. Livingston, Ms. Barbara, Deanna, and we all had approved, but was it the board attention to acknowledge or approve? Because
Thought we
Supervisor
just-
Miller asked me.
Thought we just acknowledged.
I think we were approving him submitting an application for federal funding.
So it is approved?
It has not been funded by with federal dollars yet.
Okay.
So he submitted an application for federal funding, and that's what we really supported.
But should the board order say approve or acknowledge? Because that's what Supervisor Miller was asking.
I think-
We didn't approve anything that he
Approved.
But you know, it's just a play on words, is what I
Yeah.
think.
But acknowledgement is good, as long as we know that we are approving him submitting an application for funding.
Matter of fact, one of you asked if you're asking for funding from the county, and he said
He said
no.
no.
Right.
I remember that
Yeah.
part of it,
Say
so.
no.
I think I asked that. I
It matters
think.
whichever
I don't
direction
know.
y'all prefer.
Because I remember he was the tall fellow.
Yeah.
I've talked to him 4 times since then, and very,
Basically, he was going to apply for funding, we were saying it's okay for him to apply
Yeah,
for
that's-
this federal
that's basically
funding.
what we're
We're
saying.
not approving him to be hired or anything like that. He's just putting in for,
For
you
federal
know,
dollars, and
some
we're
dollars that we
supporting,
may not be capturing in,
basically, we supported him, but we saying that's a good thing to do.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
And-
if, before any application of grant and requirement for the county, he'd have to come back to us.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Anything he got approved for, then he would come
He'd
back
have to come
to
back.
us and,
For us to accept it if that's what we want to do.
But I think he's applying for state and federal, y'all, so I don't,
Right,
I
that's
wanna be
correct.
clear.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's the change? We're gonna leave the same.
how about for state and federal funding?
Number 3 on the second board meeting. Yes, ma'am, on the second board meeting. So what's your suggestion, Mr. Williams?
I suggest that we support his effort.
Okay, so
We
leave it like
support
it is.
his effort for application for funding.
Unanimously approved support for application for funding.
So add application
State.
for funding for federal and state.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, right.
All right, anything else?
I had one other thing. I don't see it on here, but HB 400, House Bill 400. We had a motion on that bill. I can't find it on the minutes, but we had a motion on that.
That's concerning the pay increase?
Right, the pay increase.
Yeah, it's toward the end.
We didn't say, I think the motion as it's written didn't say how much we're gonna be paying the bailiffs. The motion didn't say that, but we said we would increase it the maximum
To the
amount.
maximum.
Right.
To the maximum. We said we would increase it to $100 per day.
Right.
I don't think in the order, I don't think you have an option. I think the increase said what it goes to. I don't think you
Right,
have
I
the
think the
flexibility, you
state-
can't take it away.
It's what they
It's what the state
approved,
said.
what the legislative
Right.
body
So we don't-
approved.
we
We
can't-
approved to accept it or go to that.
Well, we don't have
number
to
or not.
approve it, it's automatic.
It's gonna happen,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna happen. Only one we got to vote on. is
Same as we
our
couldn't give them a raise when they were asking for
rate.
it.
Right, because we
You
don't
know.
have that authority. But now that the authority's been given, it's
We have
automatically-
to accept that raise.
We're the only ones who have to vote on our rate.
Right.
We did that.
Yeah.
And
No,
just for clarification, when we vote on our rate, we also voting on
Judges.
judges and
Attorney.
attorneys, and also,
That's it.
yeah, we're not just voting on our raises.
I believe Attorney Robertson needs to come back and give us some clarity on that. Because I believe HB 400 says that we can increase the pay between $55 to $100 per day. That we have that option to either be $65 a day or $75 a day.
If we go along with what we currently have, my understanding, and then, of course, y'all are the bosses of this board, that y'all increased it to the maximum limit. That was my understanding. If that's not the case, just let me know and we will fix it for you.
Right.
I thought that's what we.
I think
that's
it's,
what- that's what we
at
said,
this
but I
moment,
don't-
it's necessary to
not-
keep bailiffs.
It's not on here though, is it?
Which
The
number?
maximum amount is not on here, I didn't see it.
Only one way to clear that, which is gonna take some time, we could pull the bill itself. I think from this point going forward, someone needs to have a computer or something here in the boardroom, so when things like this come up, you can automatically put it up, and that way we can go ahead and decide on it and go from there.
Well, if y'all want to add on number 24, because it's on here, if you want to add to the maximum amount allowable
Yeah,
by law, and I think that'd be your point.
That's
Okay,
my
okay.
point, the maximum amount allowed by law, which it didn't say it in the minute.
That's your friendly amendment?
That's right.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous 4-0 that we amend that order on number 24. Any more adjustments, corrections? All right, if so, let us get a motion and a second to accept these minutes with the corrections.
Motion.
Motion by Supervisor Williams, second by
Second.
Supervisor Montgomery, that we accept these minutes with the corrections. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate voting sign.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving right along to the next item, citizen comment period. This time is set aside for any citizen to approach the board for up to 3 minutes, and you may approach the board from any
My
perspective.
friend.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. Chris Taylor, Supervisor District 5. Joe Williams.
We know you well.
All right. Okay, I agree. Now you might get some bailiffs, because that's all they've been raising hell about is that $55. So I'm glad that someone finally did something. Now, as you notice at 9:20, you got Jeff Donald. He won't be here. Okay, so I'm gonna speak for it. Okay, May the 3rd, y'all know we always have Memorial Day service out front.
Right.
And requesting the board president or someone from the board speak. Just give us a best one, let us know so that we can put your name on the program. Need the courthouse, at least the cars sit outside. He said y'all already coordinated with you, so. Looking forward to a Veteran Day program, and hope that all y'all come on out. That's the honor the ones who gave the ultimate sacrifice. They got killed in combat. And y'all doing a great job, keep it up. And Rob, you keep him in Jackson, send us the money.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
All right, Chris. All right, anybody, any other citizens would like to talk to the board for 3 minutes? If not, we'll move right along. I think he covered the item for Mr. Jeffrey Donald. Do we need to acknowledge that request?
Yes.
Okay, it's been motion and properly, do we have a motion? Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard, that we acknowledge the request from Mr. Jeffrey Donald concerning the Memorial Day services. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate voting sign. Motion passes unanimously. And I will relay that to Supervisor Miller about the request for the board president to speak. I know I'll be out of town that weekend, so I will not be available. All right, moving along to the next item. And I know we're ahead of schedule, but we'll run through this, and if they're not here, we'll circle back. Mr. Paul Cross with the Wellington Place concern. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the county board meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
County
sir.
Board Supervisor.
Well, me and my family moved down here from Nashville. And we live right off this county, Old 12. The property in the subdivision we live in, it's a nice subdivision. The problem is the sewage and the property owner that owns it. I done talked to him twice. Only thing he can say, how we here to help, we gonna help, we gonna help you. Ain't did nothing. Now I done been around a lot of people. They always saying it's private property. Now when that subdivision, I done talked to a lot of people, when that subdivision was built, they said they didn't have no overseers for this sewage.
Right.
Now that y'all got overseer on it, I don't know what y'all gonna do for the people in the community. Cause that stuff is bagging up in our house, the smell. Now, I know it ain't up to code. Cause if it was up to code, it wouldn't be like this. I wouldn't be here. I know y'all can't do much.
It's in my area.
I know when I came here today, I'm gonna hear talking folks. And I hear people in our community. It's a shame how it looks. If you ever take a ride through it, just take a ride. Cause this owner, only thing he wants, looking for is money. Money ain't the problem. It's how we live there, how we respect your neighbors in our community. It's a disgrace.
So beyond this, and I know the sewage is bad, and I know Rami is the gentleman that owns the place. I mean, they won't even mow the yards in there.
That's right. A lot of people gotta be out there doing that stuff. He came through there to mow the yard. Guess what he did? He paid a guy just to mow the front.
I know.
The front. What can y'all do to help us?
Well, the problem is we as a county do not deal with utilities, meaning electric, water, sewage. I mean, he's got a lagoon back in there. You know, beavers get back in there. We've had to get our beaver man the last 4 or 5 years to go back in there and catch beavers. Sir, that's a private, you know, area up in there. It's a 911 road. It's not a county road there off of Old 12. I mean, I've tried to call Rami myself, you know, and explain to him issue after issue that he won't handle. You've got to, I don't know if he's still there, gentleman that's...
No, he just quit because he wasn't getting paid for 4 months.
And
now
that,
we just there on our own.
I understand, and that's, you know, I can't make a man who owns this place do what he's supposed to do. I just can't. You know, I've called him and called him, told him and told him he won't hire anybody to come in and do any work. And I'm asking Rob here, I mean, at a certain point, I mean, you're dealing with a slumlord that won't take care of
Nothing.
anything.
Right through there. You can come over the house, I can show you.
It's
Mr. Cross,
bad.
can I, is it okay if I'm
Yeah,
asking
sure.
Yes, sir.
a question? Mr. Cross, how many people live in that, I'm
Not
trying to figure out
that
where
many.
it is.
They come and go because he don't take care of nothing. Look at the pool area. You're supposed to have a pool, a tennis court, ball, all that's just raggedy now. It's just, it was there when Bob tried to keep it up.
Is this
But he
off New
wasn't
Light
helping the
Road?
man.
This is off New Light Road, or this is?
No,
Old
it's off
12.
Old 12.
Okay,
Go out, I'd say less than a mile past the city limits. It's there on the left.
uh-huh,
Kenny Morgan, it's the ones that he built years and years ago.
okay.
And they put a lagoon in that doesn't go anywhere. I mean, as the county, we've had to go in there and dig out and rechannel, you know, to keep the sewage from coming into Whispering Pines. Like I said, there's beavers, muskrats, you name it, in that lagoon.
Is this on the same side of the road as Sunset?
No, Sunset's on down the road. When you get to the service station, the Sprint Mart,
Right.
make that right there and come straight down about almost a quarter of a mile to half a
Oh,
mile.
Sugar Shack.
Yeah,
About a
okay,
couple
the
miles
Sugar
down the
Shacks. I
road.
know, okay, I'm with you.
Okay.
The,
I know what you're talking about.
Calling that too.
there's a possibility that this, tell you what, whenever the meeting's over with, come see me. There's a possibility that DEQ may be interested in the issue for sewer. I'm trying to come up with some solutions for you as a community, and honestly, I don't have all the solutions in my head right now, but the reality is that there should be some things that could be done to help alleviate some of these problems. Now, it is private property, and being private property, it's going to be hard it's going to be hard for the county to make a real assessment of that. But if you do have some issues with the environment, in other words, you've got sewer backing up into your homes, things like that, that may be something that could be addressed and dealt with on that end. That's a hard one whenever you're dealing with somebody that just doesn't want to make things livable, and that there may be some options there. You do also have the option to, if there is a solution, which I don't know that there is. So the problem with sewer systems and things like that is that sometimes if you don't have a countywide sewer system, and we do have some organizations that do sewer and what have you like that. Those are the things that take that sewer away from the community and put it in a proper place. In your situation, when you're dealing with a lagoon, it's a little bit different, and it's harder to tackle that, especially on that private property side. However, if there is a solution, the community, in other words, the people that live there, can come together and try to make this landowner do what they're supposed to do. Now, that being said, that's sometimes easier said than done, especially whenever it ends up costing money to hire an attorney and do all the things that go along with that. But you and I will talk some more and see if we can come up with some solutions.
See, but I think if you get on him, he's gonna beg out any way possible anyway. Cause he don't answer the phone.
No, he doesn't.
He don't really do nothing but come through. Oh yeah, we gonna take care of things. This been going on for years. We only been there going on 4. And this guy, I don't think he needed it.
What was his name again?
Rami,
Rami, he's down in
First name or
Alabama.
last name?
first name.
First name.
Does he live here in our
No, he
community?
stay down in Alabama somewhere. He got some custom auto place to do custom cars and all that. From what I hear from the people in the neighborhood,
Do you rent or own?
we rent.
You rent.
Mm-hmm.
Do most people rent or most people own?
Most people since we've been there, we seen people come and go. We don't know if they rent. We got to know a few people that own. They going through the same problems. They done said something about this. The next door neighbor, she said she done been there since 2008, something like that. It's a lot of problems that occurred. See, I talked to another person. He said they are prefab houses. Foundation is gone. Most places. If you go around, most places probably got mold. And I know one thing again, the drainage system is not right. I'm just saying, to build a place like that, not have an overseer to do nothing right, that's not right.
Rob, could he get the state health department involved?
That's DEQ would be interested in knowing that there's sewer backing up into their houses. And I'm not laughing. I'm
You
just
can see the
shocked.
houses
You
because
got-
you want to cut the grass trees, the guns out, and you want to benefit the people that do what
it
we
is,
trying to own.
He's trying to tell you, Supervisor Howard is trying to tell you that the Mississippi State Department of Health, Department of Waste Management, with the Mississippi State Department of Health, control how sewage is being disposed.
Where is it located at?
You can get a phone number. You can get a phone number with
Is
somebody.
that Road and Highway too?
You got,
Mississippi State
what's your number
Department.
down there, Mr. Cross?
Is that Road and Highway too?
No, that's with the State Department of Health. Mississippi
See,
State
'cause
Department of
when
Health.
I went somewhere, they sent me all the way around.
Well, you ain't gotta go no more then.
No, this is for,
You call the right people, they'll get on it.
leave your number.
And
And,
another thing needs to be included in it.
because not only that area, again, that sewage that stays there and doesn't go where it needs to go, when it rains a whole lot,
And back all of this
well,
stuff
it
back
goes into the back
It's a
of
health issue.
Whispering Pines. And like I said, we've had to go in there, the county's had to dig out, make it to where it will continue on. I mean, we've had beavers in there, we've caught dozens of them in
Cause
there.
I see when you go down the main road, it's the drainage system. Whoever put the drainage system, they didn't do something right. It bags up all along the back of people's houses. It don't flow. It just stay and
Well,
it just
the
saturate.
gentleman that you just mentioned took that property over for a very, 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 and I don't wanna say the number, but a very cheap price.
Right.
And he was the one that's been in control of this since the beginning, and it's on private property. But like several here have said, we can get with the Department of Health, the DEQ, and try to. That's the only route that we've really got that we can directly help. So
It was a big hoopla around that property when it was, actually, construction was stopped on it for a long
That's
time.
what my neighbor said.
So
It
he
stopped
was
on.
able to jump through a few hoops and get it built and get out from under it.
but there were trees growing through the floorboards of the houses there.
Yeah.
That's why I'm thinking the foundation. It's not a concrete foundation.
Correct.
Prefab houses ain't on concrete. And I just wanted to know, why wasn't the drainage system put in the right way? Because you can see it from the street. I can see it flowing from one direction, but it ain't coming from the other. I don't know about the overseeing of that property, whoever did it. To me, it should have been shut down completely. When they built the first house and wasn't nobody there to do nothing.
Be careful what you ask for though, because a lot of those people that live in there are gonna have an awfully hard, and this is just the reality, they're gonna have an awfully hard time finding a place to go.
That's what I was telling Mr. Loris back there. We just came by, we moved downtown. It's hard to move out of town, move in a place you wanna make your home, and then next thing you know, you gotta pop up and move in. I don't wanna move, I wanna make it a home. But to get this done, I gotta speak up for something.
Yeah.
And somebody.
Right.
But y'all just need to take, more likely y'all probably done took a ride through there.
Oh yeah. I've
You done took a
delivered
ride through there and seen
when
all
you
that.
can
He's
through
a
there.
terrible landlord. He just
Grass will
he's
be
just
this
terrible.
tall.
Yes, he's just terrible. It's
It's
strange.
hard from a county official's position. It's tough to make people in private business settings do what they're supposed to do.
Do you think you could get the whole neighborhood to help back up what you're trying to do? Here, you
Most-
have power in numbers.
Most of them done moved. But I know I got my next door neighbor for sure. Probably the one next to her too. But I don't know about probably on down the street or probably a couple more, but I don't know, but I can let her see.
I'm gonna give you my card and let's just talk about this. I mean, I'd love to see this gentleman decide that he's gonna do the right thing. Just, let's you and I have a longer conversation about seeing if we can get y'all some help. But you need to be talking to your neighbors and let them understand that
I was gonna say, do you have a neighborhood, apparently you don't have a neighborhood, group association, do you?
Well, the way he do his business,
I doubt it.
Well, no, I'm not talking about him.
I
What
know,
I'm saying
I
is,
know, but the way everybody speaks up about him, but the way he do his stuff, it made a lot of people move that we need
Yeah.
to help
It'd be
us.
hard.
and
See,
I've seen that over the years.
Yeah, and there's still people coming in. When they see me out there cutting the grass, they say, "Where do you go to rent these places?" They want to rent them. They want to move in there. But for him to do what all he's doing and don't stand up to his word, people are moving out. It's a nice place. It's
I
really, it's a really nice place.
It could be, like you
Yes,
said.
it is.
but-
It's a really nice place, but landlord, it just ain't right. And I just thought maybe I'd come through here, talk to. I know y'all couldn't do much because Mr. Dolores told me you can see. I done took a lot of steps of getting things done. I even went to the mayor. I started with her first, and then I went to Miss Gabby, and she's retired. And I don't went everywhere. Now I'm here at the board meeting. Now I know I done got another step, but my wife was telling me to stop for not going to the news. That'll make him do something. Cause he'll get on that camera, he'll have to say what he gonna do. And the people behind him, he's gotta do it.
Would the board consider authorizing our attorney to write a letter to the landlord and to lay out
Yes.
some of these concerns and ask for some type of response as it relates to a course of action to correct some of these?
Certainly, yeah, I'll make that
Been
motion.
motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Williams, that we go that route. Any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the pro vote.
I thank y'all for hearing my concern.
We thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
and sharing
Thank you
those
for coming.
I hope I don't have to meet on these circumstances.
No, and I'll give you a call, I'm sure, I'd like maybe all three of us to get together, Mr. Cross, me, you, and our attorney, see what we can get together and, like I said, make him do, because it's a uniquely difficult situation to try to explain.
But I know I got another, my neighbor, that's one that I know that'll stick side to side with me. My name is Miss Christine, and I talked the other day.
I got you.
Okay.
We
Thank
certainly
you.
appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Ross.
Yes, sir. You have a
Good
great
luck
day.
with that.
All right, moving to the next one. Miss Margot Swain, Mr. Ray Evans. I don't see Miss Swain, but I see Mr. Ray Evans. Good morning, Mr. Evans. Yes, sir.
Ms. Margot had a family emergency, so she won't be with us
No
this
problem.
morning.
Good to have you this morning.
This is our annual meeting before this board, and what we do, since we get money from the board, we have to do an annual presentation, and that's what this is on this morning. So I'd like to start off by just saying thank you for what you do for community counseling services. And as you can see, you can kind of go through this on your own. The important thing I would like for us to see is the 970 citizens of Oktibbeha County that we actually serve. And that's children and adults, registered clients in our mental health agency. That is a significant number, and we feel like it's a significant responsibility that we provide for the community. We currently have 37 full-time employees there. As you can remember, I came here in August of last year. I've been here moved here in '92, but and been with the agency since that time. So in October, I'll be here 30 years and 30 years in mental health. Some of the highlights of the things that I wanted to kind of focus in, if you look at the first page on at the bottom, supported employment is a service that we are now providing. And what that is, if an individual has a mental illness, we work with them in finding viable employment. and we work with not only the individual, but we work with local companies and employers in doing so to establish relationships with them. And the only, in order to maintain the fidelity of the model, the only requirement is for that individual to say, I want to work. So we have staff that are dedicated to that. Also, targeted case management. We have individuals who go into hospitals. That can be the state hospital, that can be over in Columbus, behavioral health, that can be Tupelo. When those individuals return, we have one specific person that that meets with them to reintroduce them to their communities and to their families. Before anyone in the office here has contact with them, this one therapist meets with them and kind of get them in line for services. And once they have met with them for, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, then they refer them back to the local therapist in the office. Let me see. Also, I-Court. I-Court is a service that has been around maybe for 2 years now. It is probably our most intense service, meaning that these individuals are seen 2 to 3 times per week in their homes. In order to qualify for this particular service, you must have gone to the hospital several times through the Chancery Court. So it is for those most unstable when it comes to maintaining their medications, maintaining their stability. These are the person who's in and out of the hospital. They are some of our most challenging individuals to work with. Sometimes actively psychotic, sometimes may be prone to some level of aggression. So 2 to 3 times a week, staff are in the home, not in the office setting, but in the home. What your judges are now doing is court ordering individuals into this service. What we often find is that when someone is released from a hospital, they never show up at our office. Or if they show up, it's going to be 2 months later when they're actually, the family is saying, how can we get them back to the hospital? So that contact on a weekly basis, multiple times, is the thing that keeps them stable and in the community. We still have individuals that we are working with. Housing is an issue because, again, when someone is actively psychotic, they don't pay bills, so they are often evicted. And we also have multiple issues with not only the mental health but substance abuse. So when you take someone who's actively psychotic, they don't know normal things that we would know. Like they may not recognize family members. They may think that they're someone that they're not. They may be paranoid to the point where they think their neighbors are out to get them. Just all types of things. And then you add in a substance issue, that magnifies it. We work with individuals whose families are simply afraid of them. And it's something to see a son or a daughter and a mom or dad say, look, we don't want to be around them, but there's no place for them to go. So maintaining stability in the home is detrimental to the community, it's detrimental to that person's safety. Most of the time, these individuals are harmless. What normally happens is that someone will hurt them thinking that they're gonna protect themselves. So it is our most intensive service, and I appreciate the staff who are dedicated to actually carrying it out. On the back of the page, we have a crisis stabilization unit in West Point, Mississippi. Currently, it is let me see how many bed it is. It's an 8-bed facility. We have plans on extending that because the state is still giving money. When these private crisis stabilization units were first established, community counseling services was left off the list. So for instance, when I was supervising Macon, I couldn't use Kemper County. They wanted me to use Grenada. Well, getting someone from Macon to Grenada is just like saying they need to go to Washington. It was just impossible to do. So having one centrally located in our region in West Point has been a godsend and a save for many people. I have driven clients to the hospital. There's no fee. They evaluate you and you go and they stabilize you. So we're talking about full-time nurses, 24 hours a day, psychiatrists who are available 24 hours a day. So it's a very needed service when someone is right at the verge of possibly needing to go into long-term hospitalization. And so it's a wonderful program. And also our mobile crisis unit, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We ask that hospitals call us when they realize that an individual is dealing with a mental health issue and not a medical issue. We ask sheriff departments, police departments, simply because we have staff who are available. Within an hour's time, they can come out and meet the person at a safe location and process them into getting them what they need. We also deal with emergencies after the fact. So if we have a suicide of a young person, we are there. Not too long ago, a child hung themselves. We were there I think that Friday, that Saturday, and that Sunday. So we are your local mental health agency. We're tied to the community, and we try to provide the services that will keep people stable and in their homes. So again, thank you for all that you do, and we appreciate you guys more than you will ever know.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Councilman Robinson has a question.
I wanted to tell you, give you a good report back. I had a young lady last week come to my office who was one of the patients for community counseling. Now, I didn't know that at the moment when she walked in, but she was having some issues. And I say this so that the people on Facebook, the newspaper, and this board will know what you guys do. I made a phone call, told them that I had a woman speaking to me about voices she was hearing and several other things. She was kind of all over the place, and I really didn't know what to do with her. And I'll be very honest with you, when she first came in, I tried to deal with her as I would a client that there's nothing I can do for her, and I send her out. Well, she gets down about 2 or 3 feet from my office, and she turns around and comes back in, and she goes through the same thing again. And at this point, it dawns on me that she needs more help. And I really didn't know what to do with her at first, and then it dawned on me to call community counseling. When I say that it was within 10 or 15 minutes of that phone call, there were 2 people at my office basically taking care of her.
Yeah.
They sit with her, kept her calm. It turns out that she had been a patient, a client, and talked to her. They spent probably an hour and a half with her in my office, and they didn't walk in and grab her and do anything ugly. They sit down and talked with her and kept her calm. There was no scene. They walked outside. They gave her a ride to wherever it was that I think she was living. But they had a conversation with her, and I say that to say that I mean, we all, as all of us, we always hear the complaints. Well, this is not a complaint. This is I was shocked. I had no idea that we had that kind of a service in this community that showed up, treated this person like a person, and dealt with her. And whatever, I told these 2 young ladies that were there, and I don't want to say their names, I don't want to embarrass them, but the 2 young ladies that were there, I said, whatever you're getting paid, it's not enough.
Yes.
So I just wanted to tell you thank you, and let the people where you work,
Yes.
community counseling
Yes.
folks up there, that we appreciate them, and that I saw boots on the ground, the way y'all operate, the way you treated these people, and it blew me away. I was shocked, and I really appreciate what you did, and I appreciate what you did for this young lady that came to my office, obviously needing help.
And I really appreciate that story. You know, we, working with people with mental illness is a day-by-day thing, and we sometimes get a lot of negativity because sometimes they look for us to do things that we just don't do. And one prime example, I had a mother call and said, my daughter needs help. I said, well, man, just bring her by, but in the background, she was cursing profusely. And I said, well, she can't, if she doesn't want to come now, you can't force her to come now. We don't get into that. We're in an outpatient facility. But when a person needs to come, they come. And I'll end by saying this. What I've been doing since I've been here, a lot of evaluations for the school districts. So when they see a young person who either talks about death, talks about hurting themselves, or talk about hurting others, I see them, and if they're put out of school on a Monday, I either see them Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. All right, because sometimes school districts say we cannot have this child back in school until they've been evaluated. So that's something that I've been doing. Most of them have been recommended to go back to school, but out of the group, there was one who was recommended for hospitalization, just because we saw more there that needed some intense therapy, digging into to see what was going on in this teenager's life. So if we save one person from committing suicide or from hurting others, the idea of taking a gun to school and shooting is not what any community would ever want to happen. And part of it starts when you see something to at least have it evaluated. So it's a service that we don't even charge for. It takes about an hour and a half, maybe 30 minutes to write a report. I send it through email to the principal and to the school counselor and to the parent at the same time, and it works. So we are a part of this community. In all honesty, I can't think of another agency to call any community besides your local community health center. There have been instances in which others have been called on the Friday evening. They say, "Well, we'll see you Monday morning." Well, we have staff who work on Saturdays and Sundays if the need persists. And anytime there's a tragedy, we will be there. We will be there. So I appreciate that. It is good to hear instead of the negative. But now we work through all things, and I appreciate this board and what y'all do for us and for the community.
Well, I'd like to say I appreciate it too. Now, Rob mentioned some funding, finances, but I was looking, $45,500 a year is the allocation that Oktibbeha County gives to community counseling. And I know we'll have to address this during our budget workshop, but I would like to see the county increase the annual funding, because I mean, it's a given that so many times community counseling will touch this young person's life before law enforcement ends up touching it a few years later. And so many times we spend a lot of money on the back end and just a little bit on the front end because hadn't anything happened yet.
Right.
And so maybe if we can start to look at it a little different, addressing, doing what we can on the front end, maybe we can avoid some of the back end stuff. But I appreciate
our
it.
aim is to not turn people away. And part of my responsibility, if a person cannot pay, I see them. Because I'm not required to have I don't have a caseload. My day is kind of open for whatever happens. So I am a part of that. When the young lady died here in the community, we wait to be invited into the school. If the school calls, that's fine. If they don't, we pray and we hope things are well. But we will go every time that we're called. And I'm not talking about one person. Every therapist will respond to it. So it's just like we put a hold on everything else when there is a crisis. And I think that is just a necessity because, we all live here. So this is our community. And even though I've been with the agency for almost 30 years, I only was here 4 years out at Skills for for that time period. Most of my work has been done in other counties, so it's a privilege to me to be here in my hometown. All right. So again, thank y'all.
Thank you.
We would appreciate anything that the county would do as far as increasing in any way. So thank y'all for your consideration.
Make sure you give our regards and concerns to Ms. Margot.
I will.
Absolutely.
I will. And she called yesterday and had some medical issues. Her sister did, and she's helping care for her. All right. Thank y'all so very much.
Appreciate your
Have a
service.
wonderful day.
Thank you for your service.
Moving along to the next item, Mr. D. White Price, ARPA funds request. Good morning, sir.
And good morning.
Good morning.
Great, how about yourself?
As you know, back on August the 7th, the board expanded the East Oktibbeha wastewater district from about 13% of Oktibbeha County to about 30% of Oktibbeha County. We are currently finishing up, getting close over the next 2 or 3 months, a $5.3 million expansion within the existing district, which will build out most of the original district. There's not a lot left to build out within that district. Our issue now becomes to funding the expanded district. We had sent a request hopefully to get some of the county's money. I think was about 1.7 million, and the state supposedly will match that, which would give us about 3.4, 3.5 million, somewhere in that range to do it. The idea for that project is to get a new connection to the city of Starkville, about Industrial Road and Old Highway 25 is where they're saying the best connection would be, and extend down Old Highway 25 or Louisville Road, or whatever we're calling it today, down to Williams Road and Poorhouse Road, and go down Old 25 as far as that money would carry us. We've estimated for that budget that 50% of the people in that area would connect. We don't know how many would actually connect, so that would depend on how far down we get with the new line. We would love to get some of the state money. There's supposedly a lot of money available out of the 1.8, 1.9 billion in the legislature. And I'm not sure what the process is to get that, but it sure would be nice to find out if we can. And we can do what's necessary. I know there has been some interest in the board of expanding around on the west side of Starkville and maybe further down, maybe even up to as much as all of the county except Starkville, Maben, and Sturgis. There's a possibility if we get to that detail, Maben and or Sturgis might want to join the district from a sewer perspective. So all of that is done. In order to do that, we're going to need to do a feasibility study because we don't know exactly what area we're looking at. At this point, we really can't get a good handle on the cost. But we'll definitely need to do a feasibility study. I'm sure there's areas within the county when you get outside of close to Starkville that it would not cost justify serving them. If you got to have 4 or 5 miles of line and one customer, you're probably better off with a private treatment system. So those are the type things we need to identify. And we need to identify the potential customer base. And from all of that, you size the facilities and determine how to best serve it.
Have you been in communication with those out west and letting them know what they have to do to be able to expand out west?
We have not. I'm not sure who the best contact would be. Supervisor Montgomery and I have talked a little bit about it in the past. It's been a while, but we'll probably need to sit down with Supervisor Montgomery, Supervisor Miller, and to get the other areas, how far out you guys want to go. The process is we determine where it should go. Then we make a petition and we get signatures from the community of the area that would be annexed into the district, and then present it to the board for the board's action. So I like to see all of that work together so it doesn't come to the board as a shock, and you better know your areas and can better help meet the needs of the community than if we just go out and do it, not really understanding the community.
Would the board consider committing to utilize some of the, I know we've already, and I'll say this, I know we have already allocated or we have some plans for ARPA money. And my suggestion would be for us to use some of the ARPA money for matching money if the state has its program, and then replace that money out of ARPA for what we want to do, I think, in relation to the county lake situation. But I know that's a priority. I know it's out there. But right now, I think there's some low-hanging fruit here that we need to go ahead and get moving because of the need and the growth. And my suggestion would be for us to commit to the 1.7 that can be matched and turned immediately into 3.5 or whatever the number would be, and then go ahead and allow this particular expansion to continue to expand across the county. We just had an issue that we just talked about earlier, and I think that if we don't move on it, then of course we'll continue to have some of the issues and challenges and problems that we're having out in the county. So that would be my suggestion. And I hope the board will take that on consideration.
Supervisor Trainer, I missed the part. You said replace that with what? What funds are you gonna replace the ARPA money with?
We'll find from some other sources.
Let me ask you this. At what point are we gonna allocate our ARPA funding and move forward with the repairs? But let me continue with this. What's gonna happen when the next person come up and want another 1.7, and then the next person want another 1.7? And at some point, we have no ARPA funding and we still haven't repaired the county lake dam. What do we do in those situations?
This 1.7 turns into 3.4.
But I'm asking what happens when somebody else comes up.
Those other situations are not like that because they're not eligible, unless it's a water project. This is just only for water and
And
sewer.
that's what I'm asking.
Right.
I'm sure I've got some people in Maven that wanna come back for about $1.5 million.
Well, we'll deal with that once we get to it, but now this is the issue at hand.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't wanna, you know, I don't like that hanging out. We'll just deal with it as it comes. I need a
But your project is
plan.
not ready to go.
I need a
And
plan
we up
because
against it.
we've got a plan for the county lake dam. So I need a plan if we're gonna start putting money that we've already allocated ARPA funding for the county lake dam. What's our plan to replace?
Well, we'll talk about that
Not
when we get to
just-
it, but we're dealing with wastewater right here now.
I know what we're dealing with, but we also
I'm
dealing with
committed-
funding
I'm
of the
committed to
county lake
finding
dam.
the money to replace that. But now, getting back to the issue at hand, this is money that the state has said that they will turn.
I don't wanna keep
whatever we put
sliding
into-
back to the issue at hand. I know what the issue at hand is,
But now-
but the issue at hand is also the county lake dam needs.
But the state is not saying they're gonna match county lake money.
That's why we allocated ARPA funding to
But
it.
the state is not saying they're gonna match county lake.
But that's why we allocated
But-
the ARPA
All right,
funding
so
because we had it.
guys, when, that would be, the question is, and we all know that we've allocated our first ARPA money to the county lake. Do we know a time frame on when we may get an update on the,
Well, first of all,
The next, the next board meeting.
so it's, yes, our second May
This
meeting.
bill will be at the next meeting, I just need to tell them what time after today's meeting.
So that being said, guys, you see where we're at right here, Mr. Prysock. I mean, I think people at this table wanna try to do things like that, but we've gotta get an update on our county lake issues and know what ARPA monies are gonna be required on that. And I've said openly, you know, I'm not for having to use our money on that, but that problem's not gonna go away. So, and we don't know how much money of that 9.6 is gonna be on the county lake. So, being that we're gonna get that update next meeting, we're gonna get a clear idea of how much money we're gonna have to put into that project over the next, I'd say 30 to 45 days. Is that something that this project, can we wait and see what, you know, I don't wanna put the cart before the horse is what I'm saying, so we've gotta wait until we know that number.
There is a need in the community, but there is not a timetable today for this week, next week, or a year from now. The sooner the better. My preference would be if we can find a way to get money directly from the state and use very little, if any, of the 9.6. To me, that would be a better solution for the county, because we could do, there's so, as you know, there's some restrictions on the money. But they talked the other day about 300 million for the rural water associations. I have not seen or heard of another number of that 1.8, 1.9 billion, whatever it is. But it's supposed to be for water and sewer and infrastructure. And supposedly there is an emphasis on sewer. So if we can determine how to tap that sewer infrastructure money, it would be great if we could get $15 to $20 million out of it. My guess is going down Old 25 and Williams Road, and we've done a lot of work on it. We haven't done a lot. I think it's going to take about $5 million. This thing seems to work in $5 million chunks. For whatever reason, it kind of works that way. I think going down to Octok and picking up Browning Creek and some of those other subdivisions down there, which would allow their expansion to continue, is gonna cost in the $5 million. If we go right on the west side of town, we're gonna see another $5 million there.
And that was gonna be my next question, was the gentleman that just came earlier about Wellington Place, I know Sunset, and, you know, all up and down Old 12, New Light Road. And water associations from that area have come to me about wanting ARPA money as well, and I'm telling them the same thing. Until we know what we've got on the county lake, I don't know what is or is not available. I mean, I wanna be able to expand and, you know, do all the things that I know need to happen, but we've got to find out the number we're gonna have to put in before I know what we've got available.
Don't we already know that? We do. We've had estimates. Now, we had, man, when
I've heard
Clyde had an
estimates
estimate for us, we had enough money to fix the lake at 8 million. But now we're looking at 15 or 17 million dollars.
That's
And
what
we still gonna be short. So where we gonna get those money from?
Well, that's what they're saying, but I'm hearing
We
and
had
I'm
enough to
hopeful.
fix it at one time, but we didn't do it.
I'm hearing and I'm hopeful. That was before COVID, but I'm hearing and I'm hopeful that that number won't be as high, and that's where maybe we'll be able to come in here and help yourself and other water associations as well. But until we know that number, I mean, how can I say that I know that there's money available until I know what that number's gonna be? And there very well may not be monies available.
Listen, I understand the need, and I absolutely think it's a great need. We just heard from a person with sewage issues. But to say that well, we need to move on this because the opportunity might not be here, I don't think that's the case. We've been trying, and to say, well, we're gonna get it done, it's been 8 years and we still hadn't found money. So I'm saying, what all of a sudden, where are we gonna all of a sudden get money?
We're gonna have to raise taxes and let the folks pay for it. And if you don't wanna do it, there's no way it's gonna get done. Where else
I
you gonna get
think
money
we've
from?
got a better solution on the table with ARPA funding right now.
You're right, and that is that.
In order to avoid the tax raising of it.
How can you do it without it? How can you do it without it when you don't have the money?
I think it's possible. I really do. I just.
How?
Well,
And
when we
we're
get in there,
competing.
it's like the gentleman that came here and gave us the report on the county lake. Once they get in that room and hammer it out, that's when we'll know what the number is. And it's like he told us, he's very hopeful and optimistic that that number that was told, the 15, 17 million, that it won't take that to fix that lake. Now, I could be wrong, but we can't say that we're gonna have money that we don't have. I know the needs are out there, but it's no different than me, you, or Mr. Prosock. We can't go out and buy a Learjet today because we really want one. You know, we've got to know that we've got the money to be able to buy or afford whatever expanses that we do. And when I first took office, that was the thing that I said, is that it's up to us to be able to keep up with infrastructure. And as fast as we've been building and growing in this county, it has been difficult sitting in this chair to keep up with it. You know, so it is a budget constraint a lot of times. And I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes, Mr. Prosock. I want to be able to put 100% of Octave Hall County into this wastewater, that you started on the east side of the county. I think the east side of the county's got a leg up on the west side of the county, from that. And I appreciate every expansion that you're pushing, because it makes issues like what Mr. Cross is dealing with over here go away to some degree. So, but at the same time, it's gonna be prudent on our part to wait until the next meeting to find out a harder number on this, the county lake, which I don't know at this time. So.
And I don't disagree with that. I agree with that. The issue is we were looking at this as a potential or possibility to start the expansion down on 25 and go as far as we can get money. And if the board came back and said, we can't give you $1.7 million, but we give you $1 million, we'll go for that. You know, whatever we can end up with
So let's
gets
think,
us that much further down the road.
and I appreciate you bringing that to us. So which direction are you coming from, Octoc Road down Poorhouse, or are you coming from the city down Old 12, or Old 25?
We would, the best connection they're telling us right now, and we haven't really done the model, and there's always a model that is done, but it appears the best connection is to the city's line of where it crosses Old Highway 25 about Industrial Road, just past the curve.
Yes, sir.
So we would probably come Octoc to Poorhouse Road to Old 25 to that location. That's speculation at this point. We do have links through MSU, and MSU, a link to MSU might be a better choice when we really sit down and look at it and put the model in place. But the one we're looking at in the Williams Road area, Bethel Road, Old Highway 25, a new link to Starkville at Old Highway 25 and Industrial Road appears to be the best connection. And I've had some discussion with the mayor about that since both of the people in the utilities have left since December. So they're aware of that and they're for that, you know, to make that work.
I do have a question. Let's just say, perfect world, right? We get in there, we find out the county lake's $5 million. We can help you, and you get to say Old 25 right there. What does that? And these are questions that my water association presidents are asking me. In other words, where does that leave Talking Warrior water? Where does that leave Longview water? In other words, do they add on to? In other words, where that comes to, do they just need to then start building from that out? I mean, how does that? Does that put them so much? Does that put them closer? In other words, we get to this point right here, the people that are immediately right here, you just start trying to build onto that.
That's what we
Continuing on.
basically
You have
try
to start somewhere.
Right.
You had to start somewhere, and I guess this seemed to be a good start. There, but we do have to start somewhere.
We would look at that whole area south. This is what we did on the east side. So we would look at that whole area on Old Highway 25, Williams Road, Poorhouse Road, and determine sort of a maximum need. We would size the line where we connect to the city to that size.
Gotcha.
And we will oversize the line knowing
Future growth.
that for future growth, so you don't have to do that. Most of these systems are pressure systems. A pressure system is installed like a water line. It's basically 200-pound pipe. It's called SDR 21, but it's a green pipe that's like a 200-pound water line pipe. So you can parallel that and get additional capacity relatively cheap. Whereas if you have a gravity sewer, it's real expensive to parallel again. So you always really want to oversize it.
But Mr. Price, I'd like to say I agree with what you're doing, but I hope you can appreciate the situation we're in with the county lake at this point. We've been mandated by DEQ that we must fix this county lake down, or else the county starts to get fined. We've got lawsuits coming out the wazoo on this county lake issues. So at some point, we've got to face the music. And so that's the situation we're in right now. This is not because we don't want to do other projects, but we've got a project we got to get behind us in order to move this county
And I
forward.
appreciate that and understand that. And that's the reason I'm saying that with the help of the board, if we can tap the state money, that would be the best for everybody. And I know in order to tap that money will require the support and some action from the board.
That might be a project that we can task Jeff and his group to see about assisting them with some of the money. Trying to find some matching money on this.
If this is a question, I'm not suggesting to you that this is 100% this will work, But this is a thought. We've got developers out there that are trying to develop Browning Creek. We've got developers out there, there's about 5 or 6 of them that are building subdivisions outside the county.
That's correct.
Part of their development costs, part of their, whether they're putting in a lagoon, whether they're putting in wastewater treatment plants, whether they're, whatever it is, there are costs associated with sewer systems. There's a thought here, if we could get with some of these developers and say, look, if you'll bring this to the table for us, we'll bring this to the table for you. In other words, if you will give us the money that you were going to spend, whatever that was, and I would imagine there's a significant amount of money that would be sitting there, that could be a matching pot. Now, I'm not suggesting to you that it's gonna get us over the top of what we need, but that could be a starting point for us to have that conversation, to take that money from the developer side, because in any other community that happens. I mean, y'all, when we see other places that are doing this, they are connecting into sewer systems, and there's a lot of tax revenue that's being charged to these people, and we're not charging anything for that, nothing. Now, unless they're doing the tap lines. That being said, there could be a possibility. I'm not suggesting to you that there aren't other options too. That we've got bonding authority here still, so it doesn't necessarily have to be ARPA funding. It could be bonding funding that we go and get. I mean, anytime I can get double the match, I'll take it. But between the two dynamics of trying to kind of think outside the box, go to the developer and say, look, Mr. Developers, if you guys will let us know what you have budgeted for this side of it, give us the $250,000 or whatever that number is that you were talking about doing this on your development side. We'll bring you a sewer system. Not only will we bring you the $250,000 or $300,000 or $500,000 that you were doing, we're going to get that money matched because we've got a source to be able to match that with. And then on top of it all, we could sit down and start thinking in terms of how to approach this from a bonding authority on our side of it. I don't want to get into 100% how we would tag into it, but I think it may be a time for us to start thinking in terms of using the developers here as leverage, because we certainly haven't in the past.
Question, how do you, under normal circumstances, expand the East Oktibbeha County wastewater? In other words, you look at areas, if you get connected onto the city, could you reach out there and grab Sunset, for instance, that whole neighborhood? It's got an existing sewage system, but it's never worked great at all. I mean, is that something, when you hear of a neighborhood like that, Whispering Pines or the Wellington Place, or just all, when I say a short grab, I mean, it wouldn't be, and I know it's a lot that goes into doing that. I mean, is that something that's feasible? Is that something
That's something that we have done. That with this expansion, with this 5.3 million we're doing now, which is a 2.1 grant, a 3.1 plus loan. We're picking up Hunter Ridge, which is a little subdivision in East Oktibbeha, and it has a lagoon. The lagoon was never built properly, and we were actually able to get a permit because we were going to get rid of it. MDEQ actually gave us a permit. We're also in the process of picking up Steel Plantation. The developer in both of those cases put in the collection infrastructure, if you will, and dumped it into a lagoon. We put a pumping station in front of the lagoon and bring it back into the system.
okay?
And that's the way we pick them up. So if there's an existing gravity system, we go to the lagoon, put in a pumping station, and then tie it back to the system.
Got you. And I mean, both these places have lagoons,
Right.
Sunset and Wellington. So that's how you get it, and it's in a pressured system, so it.
Well, some of it's pressured, some of it's gravity, and it just depends on the Hunter Ridge is a gravity system, steel plantation is a pressure system. And the sort of whether it's gravity or pressure depends on the density. If you have a relatively high density location, then gravity often is a good solution. If it's large lots spread out a lot, you're probably gonna go pressure. The developers also like the pressure because they can put in the collection system, which is like a water line and relatively cheap. And then the cost of the grinder pump stations falls to each home builder. So there's a way that the developers actually shift cost to the homeowner when it's built, and they do it as part of their build out.
How
Like
much
they
is,
would a septic.
how much is a grinder system
Probably $5,000 to $6,000
per household?
per household. The district pays about 15 because of all the engineering and bureaucracy built in.
Well, we've heard the request from Mr. Prysock. Is there any action on the request?
I have a motion. I motion that we acknowledge Mr. Prasad request and table for further discussions.
We got a motion, just a second.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Montgomery. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the clerk. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you for all you do, Mr.
Okay,
Prysock.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad.
Let me back up, board, if you will. Let's give an order to acknowledge the community council update.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate sign. Motion passes unanimous 4-0. We're moving on to Ms. Kuban, assessment changes. Good morning.
Been so
Good morning.
patient over here. Good morning.
Morning. I just have a few changes for you.
I've seen those in my packet. I'll make a motion for approval.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Williams. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the appropriate motion.
Did you sign it or I need to wait for it?
I'll say.
Okay.
He's the acting president. I guess you could say.
All right.
Appreciate that, Joe. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything else, Ms. Cooper?
That's it.
All right, well, you have a lovely day. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you,
Mr.
ma'am.
Clyde Pritchard, Pritchard Engineering.
Mr. Vice
Yes,
President.
sir, Mr. Williams.
Yes. In relation to the previous presentation, that was at one time, Mr. Prasad, at one time, excuse me, but at one time you made the recommendation that we might change East Oktibbeha Wastewater Management District to Oktibbeha County Wastewater Management District. Is that a concern for you, or you what started? How you feel about
No,
it?
we talked about it. I think we thought that was a good move. I thought it was weird.
Yeah.
Back on November the 2nd, 2009, when the board created the district, I suggested at some point in the future, you may want to change the name to Oktibbeha County Wastewater District.
Yeah.
So that's certainly, that wouldn't be a problem.
That's at the board's discretion, or do we have to go through some type of process in order to do that?
I think that you're gonna have to turn it into that next level. My brain left me as I was sitting here talking about it. Brandon Presley and the public search, they're not gonna have any care whatsoever.
Because it's a government agency, they really don't have any say.
Perfect.
And when you go through the,
You know where my brain was on that.
oh, I
then.
know, 19.5.151 through 207.
Perfect.
Within that update, it allows the board to name the district.
Good with me.
So you can
So-
change
So
the
no
name.
issue with PS.
So what we would do is we would just go in and go with the IRS and everybody else and change the name from East to just drop the East and keep all the same numbers and things would be the way we try to do it.
So what's the pleasure of the board on that? Or you all want to research, or you all want to move forward?
Well, do we have the authority to make that change? This board has the authority to.
It's done as part of the, from the initial development of the district or expansion is where that is.
And it was originally developed here, am I right?
Correct.
Let me ask you, would you need to run this back through your board to just kind of,
I would tell them that that's what the board wants to do, but that authority lies within the Board of Supervisors.
okay, and let me ask you, if we change it to Oktibbeha County, just the projections, how many years do you think it would be before you actually get sewer on the west side and up toward Maven and Longview and Sturgis and things like that?
It would depend on how lucky
Gotta put
we
the
are
money
getting
in.
money from the state ultimately.
our county administrator made a good point that do we want to possibly wait until after we figure this money situation out before we,
Yeah.
because that could create a bit of a problem in terms of how we're approaching, I mean, if you have money in, if we're going to eventually do something, whether it be bonding or whatever, we probably don't want to be in a transitional state with money.
If we add to the west side, then that would be the time to do it. If you expand the district on the west side and change the name at that point, would probably be the easiest way to do it.
Don't want us to be in a
So
situation.
everybody's in agreement of the change, we just need to make sure the timing is right.
Yes.
Okay, so what we'll do, Mr. Williams, if you don't mind, would you just withdraw that?
Yeah.
And then let us
Just table.
table it until we get the timing right, but we can go ahead and change it. Is
Can you
that fine
write
with
your,
you?
can you write your number down, Mr. Price?
We're gonna say what we're gonna
Anyway,
table.
right there.
Well, we just tabling the actual name change until we get
Until
all
it's
of it
expanded to the west.
to the west side, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
get
a
some
motion.
lunch
That's
from
a
there
motion.
this week.
That's my motion.
Okay.
So,
So, we got the motion from Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Howard. The motion was to table it until the actual expansion to the west side.
Gotcha. Thank you.
thank you,
All
Mr.
those in favor, let it
Price.
be known by the vote sign.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Price. Mr. Pritchard, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Y'all timed me out about right.
Yeah, right.
Can't let you get in here too early. Right.
All right. Several items this morning to kind of get us caught up. And the conversations don't get a lot easier for y'all.
Hey, they're looking good on Longview Road though.
Yeah.
I got to say.
Well, I have made a few calls on that. First item I've got is Mr. Lewis. I have these 3 checks returned from Mr. Harry Lee James. What this is was we were trying to return some money to state aid on ERBR, but these projects didn't have any state aid funding on them, so the money comes back to you and with instructions to spend it. And what we understand now, Mr. Harry Lee's been, we can buy materials and do, i.e., we could buy clay gravel for Sun Creek Road or something with this money, let the county put it down in kind. Just need to have those conversations. Silver Ridge is a little over $16,000. Marvell, Sun Creek is approaching $32,000. Okay?
So let's get an order to acknowledge the receipt of those funds.
Y'all pass
So
those
moved.
Motion by
checks
Supervisor
down,
Howard,
Mr.
second by
Lord.
Supervisor Montgomery.
At the,
Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the proper vote sign. Motion passes unanimously.
At the same time, I do need a board order for Mr. Lewis to return the check on Longview Road that we did spend state aid money. That check will be deposited back into the county state aid account.
I got you. Where the bridge, let's say,
County state aid.
Longview Road, how much was that though? What was the total?
I don't remember.
Was it
Do
like-
you remember, Mr. Lewis?
I don't remember.
I don't know exactly how much. We
Can you
sent,
just, when you find out, just put it in
I
the
will.
box?
I will.
but I'll need a board order returning that money to state aid.
You've heard the request. What's the pleasure?
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard. Are there any questions concerning that motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the proper vote sign.
All right,
Motion passes unanimously.
how do we want this board order to speak, because I know what's gonna happen. How do you want this language for this board order, for this return of this money?
I want it just authorized to return that the excess money on ERBR, I'll have to get you the number for Longview, to state aid,
Return from state aid or to state aid?
to state aid.
To our balance.
Can that go into the general, our road fund, or that has to stick with
That will
On
go,
that
that will,
project.
no, that will go into your state aid account. for the
state aid?
county.
Okay, okay.
Just like your advance credits or anything else, it'll be just in the county state aid
And it has to
account.
be spent on state aid projects.
A state aid
Thank you.
project.
But since it came from Longview Road, like I said, I'd like to get an amount on that, cause, I know like on Longview, Edenton, the bridge was a little more. Anyway, we'll just find out how much that
That's-
was.
Yeah, actually, we just had a little ERBR balance left on it, so we're sending that back to state aid. Now, the new, I call it 2022 ERBR. I think Mr. Lewis put it in your packet. We got news late last week that they're accepting applications. Those, they didn't give us but about a week to get those together. They're due May 8th. Now, we've been running through these scenarios in-house. We've been looking at the county's bridges. Y'all have already obligated to fix some. We've got one bridge in the county, being in Supervisor Miller's district out there, that we've been talking about, that our current estimate on that bridge is around $4 million. Now, contrary to the first round of ERBR, we've got time to build. If you remember in the first round of ERBR, they said this money had to be spent in X amount of time. Now, rules have changed a little bit. We got time to do environmental permitting, we got time to do surveys, we got time to get plans in. So, you know, this, in my opinion, this is a good candidate. There are 2 other bridges on that route that we could put in for also. They would be round numbers, $1.5 million, $1.7 million. I'll leave it to the board's discretion, and Rob, you may want to chime in, but sort of what we've heard publicly is the intent is to award at least one project in every county.
Right.
I'm suggesting y'all go for the big buck. I don't know that you ever get an opportunity to come up with this kind of money for that bridge again.
Say for the Facebook what ERBR stands for. I know what it stands for.
Emergency Road and Bridge Fund.
I know it may be a question at some point.
Yeah, but, you know, we can put in for all 3 if you'd like. We can put those applications together. I would be somewhat fearful that they reach out and grab a little one and leave that big one off on the table.
Here's a question.
This is y'all's call as
I'm
to how you
kind of
want to
picking
roll
up
the
what
dice.
you're putting down here.
Yeah.
Put in for the big one.
If we go for the big one and are turned down, does that leave us out in the cold?
That leaves us out in the cold. I said I can do all 3. I can just do for the big one. You know.
However, that's the biggest bridge project in Octavia County.
That's the biggest bridge project in the county, and again, my fear is that it's kind of like you were saying on some of this other, and you've been looking on the dam and et cetera, that we won't, I can't say we won't, because strange things are happening, but you don't get an opportunity to ask for this much money very many times.
Do you think there's a downside to asking for everything? I mean, all of the ones that we want?
This is strictly Clyde, okay? My downside is, hey, we'll do these 2 little ones, and that big one is still hanging out there, and it's still a problem, and y'all are still trying to figure out a way to fund it later.
Yeah.
So.
And we don't have, look, other than the applications, we don't have any input. Nobody is calling us back saying, do you really want this one? Do you really want that one? It'll just come down in a list and say, that's what you got.
So you've heard the request. What's the pleasure of the board?
I say we go for the big one.
Got a motion. Is there a second? I'll second. Second by Supervisor.
That's the Morgantown Bridge.
That's the Morgantown Bridge that I've told y'all is essentially in a 90-degree curve. We're gonna have to build a new bridge, realign the road.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It's across
It's not
Knoxville.
just the bridge, but will it still go over the Knoxville?
It's still got to cross Knoxville, and we're gonna have right-of-way acquisition. We basically got to realign that whole road right there to get a new alignment on it.
Any more discussion concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the proper voting sign. Motion passed unanimously.
All right, so Rob, for your purposes, my order would read authorized to put in an application for bridge number 026.
026.
026. And I appreciate y'all's consideration there. We took bids in District 3. We had 7 packages out. We had contractors pull seven different contractors pull plans. We got 1 bid. Our estimate on the job was a little over 1.1 million. We got 1 bid in the amount of almost 2.3 million twice. So my
Suggestion.
we are, and follow the conversation, we are bidding yours May 10th. Folks, I'm talking to contractors. I talked to them this morning. It ain't about to get any better. Now, y'all know we started, and I'm just giving the example, years ago. We were doing soil cement work in the county for $25,000 to $30,000 a mile. Number this morning from one of the guys y'all have worked with quite often, $100,000 a mile.
Good Lord.
soil cement. The cement is costing in excess of $60,000 a mile, not counting cutting it in and mixing. They're also hesitant to bid it because, i.e., Larry Griffin would like to sit down and do 4 miles of road in a day. He can get one transport in and do a piece of one road, and then he's got to wait till he gets the next one. You've heard supply chain, you've heard cost, you've heard all this, but there's a lot of issue with bidding this work right now.
And what you did, so we can't just, you bidded the project as one big project, or you bidded it as
Well,
separate project?
that's a conversation. We bid District 3. We're about to bid District 1.
May the 10th.
May the 10th, next Tuesday. I've got yours ready. I've got yours ready.
Yeah.
There could be some argument, and again, I've tried to call all these guys and talk to them. There could be some argument that if you combine these projects into a bigger job, that you bring in a T.L. Wallace, or you bring in some of these bigger folks that can come in and do it. I honestly can't tell you right now. When we bid Supervisor Howard's job, there was, I think these guys told me there were 18 projects bid in Mississippi that day, and they were all similar work. They were all over the county. You know, I just right now I don't see it getting any better.
So Supervisor, how you want to proceed? You want to just work with
Well,
the money you got?
Clyde and I sort of talked about it, and I think I'm gonna sort of hold up right now and sort of see what price. I think it's sort of back to what we talked about originally. It was gonna be so much money flooded into the state and into the United States with all this ARPA money, until if we didn't jump in there right quick and get it done, we were gonna be, and I think that's what we're looking at right now. But depending on what John bids look like, if his is double what we're thinking, I think I'm just gonna sort of wait and see what we maybe bid the whole project, whole county at one time.
That's a decision, and it may be better to wait till we see what yours come in next week. It's similar work. It's roadbed reclamation, base repair, chip seal, all this kind of stuff. From your standpoint, I do need to officially reject Phillips's bid to free up the bonding, so I need an order to that effect.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery that we do that. Any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let me know how to vote voting sign.
Aye.
I want you to move ahead with mine, and then I just have to cut it back.
And that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah,
You want me to advertise it standalone?
Standalone.
The only change I've really made to your scope is when I rode, Rock Hill.
Right.
I don't feel like it's a good candidate for slurry seal. I would reseal it. I think 16th section is a candidate for slurry seal.
That sounds good.
Okay?
My question is, will you receive bids for individual roads? So we'll know what roads we might have to cut out.
And that's the way we did Supervisor Howard. That's the way we've set up here. We're breaking them down to the individual roads.
Right.
And then we have a total in the end.
Total in the end, that's right. That's right.
Your little area, what is it, off of Rock Hill that goes down by the lakes?
Indian Point.
Indian Point, that's gonna be a tough little sale right there, just because it's up and down and curvy. Kinda like, the estates were, back behind the bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
Just, it's kinda a little tight spot. So, do you wanna go ahead and advertise yours?
And yeah, go ahead and advertise mine. But now, if we're gonna, will we be wasting time if we're going to come together and advertise bids for the whole county? It seems to me.
That's y'all's call.
We'll still get bids pro road, I think, if we advertise for the whole county.
The only thing that may benefit you, if we decide you don't like your number, you don't like your number, you don't like your number, let's try them all in one big wad, you may bring in a bigger contractor that could mobilize and stay in here longer, that would bite.
Question too on the bigger contractor, do they have, I'm sure, they have supply issues?
They've
like
got some of the
rest?
same issues, but just like any other bigger outfit, you will say, they have vendors more committed to them.
Right.
Because they're using a larger quantity, they're using it on a bigger basis, So, really what you're out on me is my design fee for putting these jobs out on the market. right there. It would not be much of a fee at all if you decide in the end to put them all back together and send it out again.
Yeah.
I mean, because we'll have all the quantities, we'll have all the stuff.
Yeah, that's my concern, is that we will still get bids pro road.
You
Bids
will.
pro
You
road, so
will.
we will still know
We would let a
how
countywide
much each
project
one of the
that's
roads gonna
got all
cost.
years and all years and all years and all years in it.
Right.
So
I
that's,
think sort of what Clyde's saying, if we do a countywide project, a company may say, well, listen, if I can come in there and do 25 miles of road, rather than to mobilize to come up and do 3 miles of road or 4 miles of road, I'm gonna give you a better price because I got bulk pricing and then we might get better.
and it may not, it'll be some bulk pricing, it may be a better price, but it will get them in the game. Where otherwise they would not be in the game.
It wouldn't be worth their time.
And I talked to T.L. Wallace down in Columbia. They did one of our state aid reseals countywide years ago. They love working up here. But to your point, 3 or 4 miles here and there or one little area is not big enough for them to come look at it.
Well, I'll
Okay.
do mine and we'll see what the bids come out. But
Do you need an order authorized? Let's go ahead and advertise.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Can we get an order to authorize the advertisement for District 2 and District 5, I think road improvements, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Can we get motion by Supervisor?
All right.
Motion second by Supervisor Williams. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the clerk voting sign. Motion passes.
We did get the bid, or order to reject.
We did, yes, sir, we did.
All right, on a lighter note, Harold Bridge, we're working on the contracts for that
We got
now.
much
They've gone to
time.
state
We
aid.
got much time to deal with this.
The Harris Bridge, we've had the field review on that. We've met with MSU. I do need an order on that. I sent Ms. Dolores something about the belief is that the Bailey bridges on Harris belong to Mathis.
Yeah.
That-
Yep. I thought it belonged to Mississippi State. That
Well, Mississippi State /
That's
Mathis.
maybe same
Yeah,
thing.
same thing.
Yeah.
So all I need is an order acknowledging that so that my plans can read that those Baileys go back to Mississippi
them
State.
once they pull them off.
Right.
I don't have, I guess my question would be, why is it that we've gotta say that they belong to Mississippi State? Do we-
Just because if I send my plans in, Supervisor Howard with a note that these are to be picked up by MSU or something, state aid's gonna turn around and say, well, don't them belong to y'all? And if I get my order ahead of time, it'll just save some time. It's just heading off the chicken fight.
I'm so scared of
Another bridge gate. That's what it's gonna lead to, but I mean, you know,
What was the name of that road there?
That's Harris Road Bridge. Just acknowledge that the bridge spans be returned to Memphis.
they need them, you know.
I don't have, I just felt like they were telling us to say that they are theirs. I don't know if they were theirs or not. I mean,
They put 'em-
but I can acknowledge that.
They've been there since I was a kid.
And again, that's just cause when I get somebody checking my plans, they're gonna say,
Is that the bridge that they were using to get to the crops?
that's right.
See,
I would like to add in this motion, if it's okay, just in case there's an issue, that if these bridge panels do belong to the county, that we are putting them in the process that we are legally supposed to do, and then donating them to the university for that
I
purpose.
would feel better with
That's
that.
That way
That's it.
we're, okay.
As
I'll
long
make
as
that
I'm putting a
amendment.
note on the plans, I'm happy.
Whatever the appropriate language is to make certain that this is put in the documentation. that we're
Whatever
doing this
process we
correctly.
need
You gotta
to
keep the
follow.
law
we got a
involved.
motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard. All those in favor, let me know by the appropriate motion.
All right.
Aye, there, unanimous.
Poorhouse Road maintenance project is essentially done. That's gone fairly well on that.
That went really good. It really
On
did.
Hot Top and what, Chad has left the room.
Right there.
You still here? Yes. We're trying to finish our marking on our base repair and leveling and stuff on Hot Top. Traffic is killing us out there.
I imagine.
So I actually talked to Steve this morning.
If you can wait till Wednesday, we have a swing person that I can bring in and try to keep him out there.
What I think I wanna do is wait till MSU empties.
That's probably the smartest.
Yeah, we'll just wait till next week after they had found or something. But we've tried putting somebody behind it and they still trying to run over. We need lights.
Just call me whenever you get ready, and I'll make sure we have.
Okay. Longview, John, I'm calling nearly every day.
And I mean, they're moving.
Well, we had a commitment from them that Phillips was gonna come in and bring what they needed to get this job done. I went through at 2:30 last Wednesday or Thursday, beautiful day, sun shining, had one man out there working. So I called Blake, and I'm after him about getting this project
They were there
done.
Thursday and Friday, but I appreciate it.
Do we know anything about your Maven Sturgis funding? I've
Got
heard.
$1 million from it.
Do we have the Senate bill? Is all that done?
Not official until what?
It's not official until July, but it's in yes, we got it.
All right, so we're gonna work to the district line.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
Even with
I can give you
going-
the bill number and all that if you wanna.
I need it
Travis out.
because I gotta turn in a program for it, and
I'll
I'll
get
have to do it like we did Poorhouse and
I
rest
have
of
it
them.
pulled up on my computer at work, just kept it up because I know we end up needing it.
Mr. Baggett can fill you in later. We did go out and look at Silver Ridge Bridge this morning. That's a head wall issue with some dirt just spilling through the head walls. I think he's already got the stuff on board to go ahead and repair that. Only other two things I had was a striping project for you on Old West Point.
That's right.
I
That's
think
right.
we probably need an order for that
Okay.
to develop. Supervisor Trainer wants to stripe Old West Point Road from the city limits to the county line.
You've heard the request. What's the pleasure vote on that? Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Williams. Are there any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let me know by the proper voting sign.
Hey, one thing, and I hate to back up, but on Maven Sturgis Road, there's a couple of things that need to be done on that road before it can be resurfaced.
Correct.
It's a
You got a slope failure in one spot.
slope failure, and then there's a cross drain.
Yeah.
Can you get with either Mr. Baggett or whoever, because I know you had said we need to get the county forces
Sure.
to do that.
Sure.
And that way, it's no surprise to them kind of what
Yeah,
we need to.
we can get that in the queue for sure. Last thing I had was y'all had asked me to advertise for soil cement work countywide. Do you want me to do that or not? I know I've told you about what range those numbers are gonna be in, and I doubt we will get a response.
I think you need to move forward with it.
Yeah, advertise anyway.
Okay,
So
we'll do it.
We
what do we
have
do
to
if we
already
don't,
authorized.
if we don't advertise, what choice do we have?
I thought we have to advertise.
Well, we've been advertising for a unit price per mile in the county. So I can get with Mr. Baggett, we need to be able to tell these folks we're looking at 10 miles or 20 miles or 5 miles.
So they'll know how much.
So they'll know how much, and then we have to, it'll help us if we can give them a time frame when this is gonna be ready. 'Cause, you know, they're awfully
Right.
scared right now to give a price in 2 weeks on work that's not gonna be done till October.
Yep.
So we'll go in conversation with Mr. Baggett, we'll try to figure out how much y'all got ready, when it'll be ready, and it may be worthwhile to delay the advertisement till closer to the time when this stuff is ready. Okay?
Because I'm just thinking right now, off the top of my head, Howard Road, if you advertise now, Howard Road's not gonna be ready in 2 weeks. I mean, so I think you're right, waiting until closer to the time to where.
I need to be as close as I can to when y'all want this work done, when it's ready. Okay?
Sounds good. We
Anything
certainly
else for
appreciate
me?
it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. All right, moving right along, road manager report. Let's acknowledge the report from.
So moved.
engineer. Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Williams. Any questions concerning the motion? All those in favor, let it be known by the proper voting sign. Yes, sir. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Good morning, Mr. Baggett. How are you this morning, sir?
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Everyone looked at the road manager's report.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Baggett, give us the bad, the worst, and the very bad.
I didn't get it.
All the good, the best, and the best, however you want to take it.
Sure do.
There's no really, everything's going pretty good, I
Look
guess.
at that one, yeah.
The sun is shining, we're working.
I forgot this one.
That's the main thing.
So not going into individuals, employees, but some of them are wanting to perhaps be part-time. Is that gonna work? Is that gonna be okay? Or where's
If
that
they,
going?
they don't mind doing whatever there is to do. Like I spoke with one that wants to come back, and he's not in the package because he just called me on Friday evening late. I told him if he come back, if he wanna cut grass on Saturday, get on the tractor and do that, they can.
Just whatever we need you to do.
Whatever we need to do, we're not gonna hire people back as truck drivers or as mechanics or as anything in particular, but, I mean, if we need to cut grass, we're gonna do that. If we need to do mechanic work, we'll do that, and if they're willing to do that, then we won't have a problem.
Now, Ms. Bagg, have you talked to administration to understand how that will impact what the county does? From my understanding, only somebody we've ever used for part-time workers have been those that were retired. And so do you understand the actual impact of what that will do as far as administration, as far as some of the issues that you have to deal with what part-time people are eligible for and things of that nature? Because part-time work is classified, I'm sure, a lot different than a full-time work. From my consumer benefits, insurance, and all those kind of things. And so you may want to, I don't know whether you're aware of that or not.
Well, I haven't talked to the administrator about it.
That would
But
be
no,
nice.
I mean, I was under the impression there wouldn't be any benefits at all. No content, no time restored, no time off.
So is there a contract that these individuals will sign that they will know?
I don't know. I think, but one time, Deanna had told me that they can only work like 90 days on part-time.
They cannot exceed 4 months of full-time. Then we'll have to, like if they're working part-time and they're working 40 hours a week for a certain period of time, we have to transition them to full-time.
Oh, okay. Well, I had
Yeah.
planned to send an email and get a request. To actually know how it works after the board decided what they were gonna do.
I think it's something we can consider, but I think you really need to get with them to understand exactly the
I do.
impact before we make a commitment. And then the people that's agreeing to this, if we decide, they need to understand what they're committing to also.
I agree.
Because there's gonna be a level of expectation. And so I think we need to get that clarified before we say what we're gonna do. That's my thinking of it. Because you got so many variables.
I agree with that.
I know you mentioned about working on Saturday, and I just took it as just an off-the-cuff comment, but that's a responsibility that comes when you have people working at various times, at various intervals, because of different responsibilities. So if you will, I suggest you get with administration quickly, and you all come up with some type of solution, if it's feasible. And you may determine, well, it's not even feasible for us to do this, we need to do something different.
Okay.
But I am concerned about the actual turnover, and also concerned about some things that relates to production, in our road department. I see some people that are wanting to do what they want to do, but if that's not going to be beneficial to the county, then they only have one option. Either they're going to adhere to whatever our policies are, or they're going to look at some other option. And so that's really what I boil down to. And then you trying to understand and work with all these different dynamics. I just don't know how that's going to increase your production level. But now you may know more
No,
about
it won't. It won't increase my production level. But if I have a man out there that he wants to do one thing, and I say he needs to do something else, if I know I've got the backing of the board, I have no problem straightening that situation.
You got the support of the board, but at the same time, I think there's a way that you approach that. And you and I talked about it. I think that we are not getting our maximum potential out of our employees for various reasons.
Well, some of them we aren't, and some of them we are. The ones that we aren't is a very small percentage. And all I need to know that if I instruct someone to do something, that when there's a grievance filed, simply for me having a conversation with them about this,
Right.
that I'm gonna have the backing of the board.
You will have the support from me
Okay.
personally, but you have to be
That's-
consistent.
that's
You cannot have
understandable.
inconsistency on your part. That's
Okay.
what it really boils down to.
I
In other
agree.
words, whatever you say and whatever you do, you got to stand by whatever you say, whatever you do. You got to remember what's said, and you shouldn't say anything that you can't deliver on.
Right, and another thing. Sometimes reports get back to the board, or members of the board.
Right.
And they assume that those are correct. I'm not ever asked, did that happen? Did that not happen? The assumption is, I guess because of management, part of management, that it did. And that
Well-
those people were treated unfairly, and that's not the case. I mean, there have been situations where people, where supervisors were crossed with me. I didn't know they were crossed. And it was because someone had said something to them that they believed, and they didn't ask me if it was true or not. They just assumed that that person was telling the truth.
Well, but I think it goes down to the management skill, the management style. And I just believe that you control your own destiny with the road department. And I believe you've got to find a way in order to get the most out of these guys. And a lot of it rests with you in the leadership.
Okay, I don't think I can get
If
any
we're
more.
gonna talk about personnel issue, and this is personnel issue because it involved Mr. Bagley. If we're gonna talk about that, I think we need to go into executive session and talk about what we really want to talk about.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make a motion right now to go into executive session to talk about, to consider talking about personnel issues, so we can go ahead and have this
Into a closed
conversation.
session and
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, we got the
I
request
second
that
that.
we consider going into executive session as it relates to dealing with personnel issues. Got a motion by Supervisor Howard, second by
And
Supervisor
I hope
Williams.
this doesn't come up again. about
All those
personnel
in
matter.
concern, all those in favor, let it be known by the clerk of the office. Aye, motion carries. So it's been determined that we have a personnel issue that we need to deal with.